The Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs, arguably the greatest head-to-head matchup we're seeing in all of sports between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, two of the best in the entire sport. We know that Allen is 0-3, searching for that one big-time victory over Mahomes. The 13-second game where Mahomes hit two passes, forced overtime, and then would go on to beat Allen in overtime. And then last year, Tyler Bass, a chance to tie the game at 27 apiece, wide right. Buffalo fans have heard that so many different times throughout their fandom, and now we get the fourth chapter of this amazing Allen versus Mahomes saga, and I'm so fired up for it. This has become the new Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady rivalry, and we've got two of the best in the sport. Josh Allen, the guy that I mentioned, is chasing that first ever win over Patrick Mahomes, looking to get that MVP this year as well. And we'll start with him, and we'll start with the Buffalo Bills. What I've been so impressed with what he's been doing this entirety of this year, with everything stripped away from him, with no Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis, and everyone questioning how is this offense going to look without so much of his targets gone. And Josh Allen has been like, it's all right, get on my back. This is so reminiscent of the 2015 Cam Newton year, where he really didn't have many weapons outside of Greg Olsen. And that's almost been who James Cook is for Josh Allen. And it's like, we don't really have any weapons. Get on my back. We're going to the Super Bowl. And that's what this season has felt like from my perspective when watching Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So I would 100% give him the MVP award. And we also have to look at the defensive side of the ball. This team lost so many players, and the job that Sean McDermott has done with guys like Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin, who have done just such a tremendous job of stepping up and filling in those roles and playing great defense for Buffalo, has been a thing of beauty to watch. And Josh talked about this in the post-game presser last week. Everybody was talking about how, oh, this Buffalo Bills team is too small. Derrick Henry gashed them the last time they played in the regular season. And they set the line of scrimmage, and they did not let Derrick Henry beat them. And this team is tough. They're physical. They love playing in the cold. That was one of the biggest advantages of playing this Baltimore team, in my opinion. But they were ready to set that line of scrimmage. They were ready to stop Derrick Henry. And they had a phenomenal game plan, in my opinion, that Sean McDermott gave them heading into that game. I went back and watched a few of the old Allen Mahomes matchups heading into this one, and what I noticed from the regular season to the playoffs is that Josh Allen with his legs is another human in the postseason, going and getting those tough 4th and 2s, 4th and 1s, those 3rd and shorts when they get down deep into the goal line. We saw it last week against Baltimore. Josh had 2 rushing touchdowns, and those become one of the biggest threats for this Kansas City defense when you look at stylistically how Buffalo's going to play on the offensive side of the ball. Another guy that's really going to need to step up in a big-time way is Khalil Shakir, in my opinion. He had 12 targets the first time they played Kansas City earlier this year. We know that Buffalo won that game 30-21, and Khalil Shakir was a big-time playmaker on the offensive end. He ended up having, I believe, 7 catches for 80 yards, and he had a tremendous game. He's going to need to have a big-time game for Josh. He's going to need to emerge as that number 1 receiver for this Buffalo offense, because they've had mixed production throughout the season. Sometimes you're seeing Matt Collins get in there a little bit. Keon Coleman's been in and out of the lineup, the rookie wide receiver that they drafted. Sometime we're seeing Curtis Samuel get some action. Khalil Shakir has to step up and be that number 1 guy for this Buffalo offense. And on the other side, the big bad wolf that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody knows what they're chasing. They're chasing history. 3-time Super Bowl champs, back to back to back, never done before in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people believe that he can cement himself with this 3rd consecutive Super Bowl as the greatest quarterback ever. I wouldn't go that far quite yet, but a lot of people believe he can do that. And a lot of people also believe that this Chiefs dynasty can surpass the Patriots dynasty that won 6 rings in 20 years versus this dynasty that will now have a 3-peat and will now have 4 rings in about 6 years. And it's funny how the tides have turned, because I remember in that AFC Championship game when Mahomes was in his 2nd year and he was going to win the MVP and they were playing Tom Brady, everybody wanted to see that baton handoff right there. Everybody was sick of the Patriots dynasty, and they'd go on to win the Super Bowl that year, but everyone was sick of the Patriots dynasty. Like, oh my goodness, Please, Patrick Mahomes, this young buck, go and beat Brady. And now how the tables have turned only a few years later, which is just so nuts. But the way that Patrick Mahomes is winning has just been unbelievable. And everybody wants to look at this Chiefs team. Oh, it's the voodoo magic that Kansas City has with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Can we be for real here? I know the officiating wasn't great last weekend and it should have been a lot better, but that just goes to really show how great of a quarterback Patrick Mahomes is, how he can play into those calls, how he understands, hey, not just how he's going to dominate on the field, but how he's also going to try and influence those calls. You can't fault Mahomes for that. The officiating, I agree, does need to be a lot better. At the end of this day, everyone wants to criticize how this team is winning. They're not putting up enough points. This offense isn't having all of the passing yards that it used to have with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. What's going on? At the end of the day, they're still winning games. They were 15-1 before they rested everybody. And this team is chasing a three-peat. They looked good against Houston, in my opinion, a little bit of rust in the first half. But now they're in the AFC Championship. Now they can see it. 2 more wins before being the first team in NFL history to three-peat. And the thing that should terrify these 4 remaining teams is that this offense looked a lot better last week. In my opinion, that 1-2 punch from Pacheco and Kareem Hunt looked pretty good out of the backfield last week. I know that Hollywood Brown, after missing almost all of the season with that injury, had a heck of an over-the-shoulder catch, and now they've got this great deep threat in Xavier Worthy, but now have Marquise Hollywood Brown, a guy that they didn't know if they would have back or not. Rashee Rice is still up in the air. It's not looking great for him. They still have DeAndre Hopkins, who seemingly everybody's forgot about. They just shut down Mecole Hardman, who had the game-winning touchdown last year. But at the end of the day, this Kansas City offense, no matter who Mahomes is throwing to, he has plenty of weapons. DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. He's got guys out there, and that should terrify the rest of the league, in my opinion. And the one thing that nobody wants to talk about, maybe an elephant in the room, everybody criticizes Kelce in the regular season. This guy looks so lethargic out there. He can't get the ball. Can he even run routes? Taylor Swift stole all of his magic. Look what he just did last week. Come on. Come on, this duo steps it up when they have to the most in the postseason, and that's greatness for you. That is greatness for you, whether you like it or not, whether you want to plug your ears when I'm talking about this. At the end of the day, these two are 2 of the greatest to ever do it, and they know how to turn it up in the postseason when it matters the most. And speaking of a guy who knows how to turn it up in the postseason when it matters the most, Steve Spagnuolo, I believe, is one of the greatest defensive coordinators we are ever watching coach. This guy is unbelievable. In my opinion, nobody was really talking about this defense much in the regular season last year, and all of a sudden this defense started stepping up and making huge plays for this team. They did it against Miami, Buffalo, Baltimore, and then against San Francisco in the Super Bowl. And we see last week 8 sacks from this Kansas City Chiefs defense. Steve Spagnuolo knew how to heat up Stroud, knew how to get underneath that young quarterback's skin, and that's exactly what he did. And he's been so great at doing that throughout his entire tenure with the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's just been such an unbelievable coordinator and knows how to get this defense to rise when it matters the most. And of course, we all know the future Hall of Famer that is number 95 and Big Chris Jones, that really is the anchor of this defense. But I think that George Karlaftis has taken a massive step this year in his pass rushing capabilities. Now the Chiefs have Omenihu back in this defense. If Trent McDuffie is healthy, man, when they're at full strength, they are unbelievably hard to get around. And now you're giving Spagnuolo another year to look at how to play the offensive coordinator in this chess match of the Buffalo Bills and Joe Brady. It's going to be a super, super fun matchup. We know that Joe Brady's getting a few head coaching looks, but at the end of the day, you're going to have what is this Goliath versus Goliath matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, 2 of the best in the entire sport. And it's prediction time. I've broken down this game for you guys. We know that Kansas City is at home, 2 games away from pulling off history. And I want to see Josh Allen go into Arrowhead and upset the Chiefs. I really do. He has been so close so many times in his career. And I see the Chiefs are only a slight favorite at 2 points, but I've learned my lesson before. I said that the Chiefs were not going to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl last year. I faded Patrick Mahomes more than I should have, and I've learned my lesson. And this is nothing against Josh Allen, because he's going to get his Super Bowl one day. He's going to eat one day. But at the end of the day, that day is not right now because Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are on another level. This defense is going to step up when it matters the most, and I believe they will exploit this Buffalo team to the best of their abilities, and they will be one step closer to chasing that three-peat and really accomplishing NFL history. Such a great thing to watch. But at the end of the day, don't look at this game as Allen versus Mahomes. Look at this as a way to celebrate the game of football. 43 million views between Buffalo and Baltimore last weekend. The sport of football is booming. I'm so lucky to talk about it. Anytime you get a beautiful championship Sunday where you get Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes playing against each other, it cannot be beaten. So the biggest thing that I'm hoping for is a great game and another awesome chapter in this book between these two. I'm Caden Kubler, and thank you guys so much for watching.